Hello and welcome. Welcome to yours and mine, Cozy Corner. My name is Amanda, and on this channel, we talk about books, and more books. Hello, friends. We have made it. We have made it to the November 2025 wrap up. Now we're almost done. The year's almost out. What do y'all think about that? I know for me, I feel like the year hasn't gone by that fast. I feel like it's been a pretty slow year, which is, not a bad thing. But I know some years it just feel like it's flying. But, you know, like I said, I feel like it's going by slow. We're in November. We only have another month left. And in 2026, here we come. Okay, guys. So for the November wrap up here, I am hoping that by the time this video comes out that I would have figured out how to do timestamps. If I haven't figured out how to do timestamps, then I don't know, maybe I can write it in the description, like when each book start, because this month I read of a total of this 8 books, but I'm pretty certain that I read 9 books. Um, I know everybody doesn't want to read, or listen to a review on every single book. So I want to see if I can figure out that timestamp or something so that, you can go to the book that you're most interested in hearing about. Now, of course, I want you to watch the entire video, but I understand if, you just want to get to what you want to get to. Okay, friends. So I am really happy that I have completed almost all of the books that I had listed on the November TBR video. The only one that I didn't finish was The Fourth Child by Jessica Winter. Now, technically, we have a few more days before November is over. Will I probably finish the book during November? Probably so. But because I'm making this video, I will just talk about that book in December and just go with the total of 9. So that's the only book I didn't finish. And I did add a book in here that wasn't on my November TBR video. So we're going to start with the first book, which is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hopkins. Now, this is a mystery suspense thriller that takes place in London. Now, this book is a very suspenseful book. It started off strong and it stayed that way the entire time. I truly was engaged with this book. And you guys know I have my notes just in case you notice me looking down. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And just to give you a very quick synopsis of what this book was about, this is Rachel who takes a train every morning into town. So she's very familiar with the scenery. So much so that she has given people names that live in the houses on that route. So when she notices something is off, she notifies the police. However, she is not the best character witness. So people tend not to, really believe what it is that she says. Now, you have a lot of different point of views, but mostly we're hearing from Rachel. She has this kind of monologue thing that's going on. Now, if you like a lot of dialogue between characters, then you may not enjoy this as much. Now, the problem that I have is that Rachel is completely unreliable. We don't know if she is just lying, if she's crazy, um, you know, is she just making up stuff? We don't know that. What we do find out early on is that she does have a alcohol problem. So she does suffer from alcohol abuse. And like I said, she is just so unreliable. You really can't trust anything that she's saying. And if you watch my other video when I was talking about this book on the TBR, I was saying to myself, why is the police, looking at her kind of crazy and, saying like, okay, we don't know if she's reliable. I see why. I see why they say that. She's completely not reliable. And we're in her head so much that she started to make me feel a little crazy. Okay. Good, good, good book, but Rachel is a hot mess. Now, as far as the other characters, to be honest, I really didn't care for any of them. I didn't relate to them. Rachel got on my nerves a good amount of the time. And, you know, I understand I understand some things that happen to her and to some of the other characters that may explain why they are the way they are. But it still got on my nerves, and it was hard to really empathize with any of them. I mean, I felt bad for what happened to them, but I just couldn't feel them. Now, there's a side chick in there, and she was just too proud. She was just too proud of being the side chick, and she, like I said, the characters didn't relate to them. Not a big fan of them. Now, the twist, I didn't see it coming. I didn't see the twist coming. I would not have guessed it. This book, I see why people enjoy this book. This book was so good. I didn't see the twist coming in this. Now, with the ending, I thought it was good. I thought it was a realistic ending. And for that, I really enjoyed it. Now, who do I think would enjoy this book? I would say people that like mystery, suspense thriller type of novels. This book will be for them. Um, those who like psychological thrillers would enjoy this. And those who like unreliable narrators, you would absolutely love this because Rachel is completely unreliable. I think that even the group of people who may read tons and tons of thrillers would still enjoy this thriller because it's some books where it's like, oh, I've seen this coming, we've done this 100 times, don't really enjoy it. I think this one could be appreciated maybe by people who read a lot of thrillers. Okay, book number two. Book number two probably is my favorite book that I read this month, and that is Misery by Stephen King. This is a horror, suspense, psychological thriller, and it took place in Maine, which a lot of Stephen King's books do. I believe that's where he's from is Maine. Now, let me tell you, Stephen King may have to pay for some sessions for me. I need to go lay on somebody's couch after reading this book. This book gave me anxiety issues from the jump. Like, I mean, I'm like, dude, we're not even, in the second chapter, and I'm already, feeling anxious because of the crazy, crazy, crazy Annie Wilkes. So, needless to say, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Now, a quick synopsis: we have Paul Sheldon, who is a writer that gets in a car accident, and Annie Wilkes ends up finding him and taking him into her home where she nurses him. Um, I was about to say back to life, but I don't know if I can say back to life, but she she nurses him. Now she finds out that her favorite character, which is Misery, is about to be killed off because Paul is ending that series. And, he's been doing that series for years. He's ending it. He's ready to move on. So he's going to, kill her off. But when she learns this, things go awry. Okay. Now, I have a lot of positive things. Excuse me. I have a lot of positive things to say about this book. There's only one negative thing that I need to address prior to going forward. The only negative thing I will say is, okay, this would be my third Stephen King book that I read. The first book I read was Cujo. The way that Black people the way he portrayed black people in the book, it was cringy. I didn't like it. And I'm talking about in Cujo. I didn't like it. Now, some of the derogatory terms or whatnot that was used by the characters, I'm not surprised because of the character and who they were. So I wasn't shocked by that. But like there's a scene in there where he's talking about something about the DJ and like, the jive and just it just felt cringy. But I just, chucked it up to, okay, that's just, the time of the book and the characters. Well, this is the third book that I've read by him, and it's kind of the same thing. There is a part where he's talking about there's a black man, and he is I don't like the way he comes across. It is cringy. If you haven't read it, then you probably know what I'm talking about. Now, I hope that that is just something that's just, maybe in these two books, and it's just, the timing of the book and the characters, and that's just it, because, it felt weird. Now, moving on. Um, from that, we have two point of views. The point of views that we have is that of Paul and that of Annie. Y'all, Annie is a whole nightmare. Okay. This lady is completely unhinged. She is probably the most unhinged character that I have ever read in any book. And the bad part is that she believes that she's like this wonderful, great person. So there is no making her understand anything differently. And Paul, I feel absolutely awful for him because he's in one of those situations where he's really at her mercy. So when he gets in this car accident, he's really like he's not able to walk. He can't. Feed himself as far as like make food for herself and do those kind of things. He is just at her mercy. And man, she honey, talking about it just kind of makes me anxious a little bit. She is she's a hot mess. um I would say the ending of this book was good, but I wanted more. I wanted it to end not differently, but I just wanted more from it. Now, again, I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. Who do I think would enjoy this book? I think that if you love horror without like a lot of body horror or unnecessary fluff, this is your book. Um, Even though now King is very descriptive, he's very descriptive, so he's not leaving out anything. But I know sometimes some books just kind of get a little extra with the horror, and it just seemed like, for what? Why are we putting all that in there? It's no fluff here. Obviously, if you like psychological thrillers, this is a banger for you. And it's realistic horror, like plausible events. For me as a child, I wasn't really scared of Freddy Krueger because I didn't really think Freddy was going to be able to, come through my dreams and do something to me. But Norman Bates, terrified of him because he could have been the man down the street. He could be your next door neighbor. So that stuff freaked me out. So this book right here, yeah, it did that to me. It's a little bit too realistic. And before anybody say, "Oh, but that's not realistic," what happened in here? There are a lot of crazy people locked up in the prison system that says differently. So freaked me out. Now, people who like books about obsession and survival, they will like this. Now, part of this book I did listen to on audio, and I tell you what, that narrator did a wonderful job. Like, she's a little scary. She's a little scary. And actually, to me, she sounds like the actress in the movie. And oh, that's another thing. So I saw this movie and I had never read the book. Well, I tell you what, this is one of those, how, and readers always say this, hey, the book is better than the movie. I won't necessarily say that it's better, but it's just as good. It may be better. I don't really remember a whole bunch about the movies. I remember certain scenes, but it's been so long since I've seen the movie, I really can't speak on that. But I can definitely say the book is worth a read, even if you have seen the movie. Okay, book number three. So we have Invisible Son by Kim Johnson. This is a contemporary YA thriller that takes place in Portland, Oregon. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Quick synopsis of the book. We have Andrew, who was wrongfully convicted of a crime, and he gets released from juvie. When he returns home, things are not quite as he remembers. And keep in mind that he's being released in 2020 around the early days of the pandemic. So the schools have shut down. The girl he loves appears to have moved on. Her brother, his friend, Eric, is missing. Everything is just off. Now, we have a lot of different point of views here, but mostly it comes from Andrew. The characters, I really did like most of the characters. They all were believable. And one particular character called Cowboy Jim, I absolutely could not stand him. Okay. We all know a Cowboy Jim. Okay. Or we have at least heard of him if we don't know him. But, unfortunately, people like him do exist. Sierra. Now, let me say this. I like Sierra. I like the young lady. She's very passionate. I get it. I like her. But I did want to tell her some time to go sit down somewhere. Go sit down, have a seat, because I understand the passion and the fire that she had, but and I understand why she felt certain things was necessary for her to do. But when you care about someone else, you also have to watch out for them as well. So even though it might be okay for you to do this in this situation and you feel like you need to do, this person maybe cannot. And I felt that at times she was putting Andrew in a awkward position. Now, of course, Andrew has a mind of his own. He can derive at his own decisions. However, we know that sometimes our decisions are influenced by other people, even if we are strong minded, So, but for the most part, like I said, I like most of the characters. Now, the twist in the story, I knew it, but I was wrong. Now, I could say that differently, but I won't, because if I say it differently, it may give the twist away, and I don't want to do that. I think if you read this book, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you have read this book, do you know what I'm saying without saying? Let me know in the comments below. Now, the ending, I thought that was really good. However, some of the events leading up to the end, I don't know if it'll really happen like that. I mean, the teenagers in this book was doing doing the most. I'm not really certain if they could get away with some of this stuff, but I don't know. Maybe they could, but nevertheless, I still enjoy the ending along with the book. Like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Really great book. Now, who do I think would enjoy this book? I think people that love reading about social justice issues would really love this book. It talked about the juvenile justice system, transracial adoption, poverty, racism, gentrification. I mean, it was just hitting all kind of different topics. And what I really enjoy is that the author, Miss Kim Johnson, did not browbeat us to death to make her point. And I didn't feel like she embellished anything. It was just straightforward. This is what happened. This is what happens, in these type of situations. I think this book is a wonderful recap of that time period and how some people were feeling. Um, so I think if people like enjoy like real world connections, they would enjoy this book. And it definitely is one of those character driven stories. And I mean, I felt myself, sitting there rooting for Andrew the whole time and hoping, that things would be different, but they weren't. But anyway, that's The Invisible Son. Book number 4, The Tennis Partner by Abraham Verghese. Now, this is a memoir and an absolute excellent book. I don't give memoirs or autobiographies, I don't give those star ratings because who am I to rate someone's life? If this is your story, this is your story. So I have no rating for this book here. But a quick synopsis. So we have Dr. Verghese, who moves to Texas with his family and develops a friendship with a medical student by the name of David Smith, who is recovering from drug addiction. Now, again, there's different point of views in here, but mostly we're hearing from Dr. Verghese and David. And they're both are just lovable people. I mean, they're not characters; they're real people, and they are just, they're lovable. And at times, of course, you can have your moments where you're like, oh my gosh, that person is being a little selfish, but that's life. Overall, it still doesn't, change how I felt about the characters. Now, I appreciated how Dr. Verghese was able to, make you remember that we all are humans. And I say that because your title, your wealth, your religion, your culture, none of that stuff matters. At the end of the day, we all have um, it doesn't matter as far as struggles because we all have struggles. And it doesn't matter if you are a doctor, if you are a custodial worker, struggles are struggles. And the entire time of reading this book, I'm hoping for the best but preparing for the worst. Because really, I mean, you're just not certain how this is going to go. And this is different from reading a fictional book. This is a nonfiction book. So we're talking about a real person. We're talking about real people, real situations. So, I was hoping and praying for the best. Now, the ending, what I would say, um, is life. And that's all I would say about the ending of this book. Now, who do I think would enjoy this? I think people that enjoy reading about other people, you know. So people who enjoy memoirs and things like that, I think you'll enjoy this. People that enjoy inspirational stories, reading about real life events and struggles would enjoy this. Um, People who are interested in complex relationships, people who like um, hearing about medical stuff in the medical field because they did spend a lot of time in the hospital settings. And also, people that enjoy tennis will probably appreciate this book. Now, if you're one of those people who don't like tennis or don't like hearing about tennis, then you might not like this book because, honey, they talked about tennis quite a lot. It was very, it was very evident that Dr. Verghese really enjoys tennis. So, I think it's a great book. And to go back to the tennis part right quick, I think it is important that he talked about it because that was their connection. Okay. That's where they just like really met up, let things out. That was their place. That was their thing. So anyway, great book. I think everyone should read it. Okay, book number 5. We have You Shouldn't Have Come Here by Geneva Rose. This is a mystery suspense thriller that took place in Wyoming. I did give this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Now, before I give you a synopsis of the book, let me say this. I think solo trips are good. It's refreshing. It's good to take that time just to yourself, fine. However, there is no way that I am taking a solo trip to a remote place with no Wi Fi or at best sketchy Wi Fi. And I'm definitely not taking a solo trip to a place where the owner is still staying there. I mean, this particular place was not a bed and breakfast. This book just had red flags going left and right. Now, with that being said, quick synopsis. So we have Grace Evans from New York. She books an Airbnb on a ranch in the middle of Wyoming. And there we have Calvin Wells, who is the owner. He introduces Grace to, ranch life, the way he kind of lives life there. The two fall for one another, but as it gets closer to the departure date, Calvin infatuation seems to morph into obsession with her, but Calvin also feels that Grace is hiding something from him, to include the reason that she's staying at the ranch. Now we get multiple points of view, but mostly Grace and Calvin is who we're hearing from. But there's plenty of dialogue in this book here. Now, the characters, I didn't really like many of them. I didn't relate to them. I think the only one I probably really liked was Sheriff Ahmed. I think I liked him because he was definitely clocking, hey, something is off. If something isn't right. I mean, at one point in the story, he's like, look here, if I got to come back out here one more time, I'm arresting you. Just know that you're going to jail. I don't care what you done call me out here for. You going to jail. And I'm just laughing because it's like, yeah, something just don't add up. And so, I think he's probably the only character that I can think of that I really kind of enjoyed. Now, Charlotte. Okay, let's talk about Charlotte just for a quick second. Charlotte is one of the characters in the book. She was a pick me. Okay? She was a pick me and she was getting on my nerves. Girl, I mean, how many ways can a person tell you that they don't want you? Let me say this right quick. I think if we all have been in relationships, all of us probably have made some bad decisions. That's life. But at some point, you have to get it. People may not just outrightly say, hey, you know what, I don't want you, you ain't my type, da 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 da. But their actions show that sometimes. So a combination of words, action, all that stuff should be like, hey, this ain't it. But anyway, she was just getting on my nerve. I just wanted to tell her, girl, go on about your business and leave this man alone. This might be God sending, grace to you right here. Anyway, okay, friends, so my camera cut off on me. I think I know where I stopped it, but if it sounds weird, that's because camera cut off. So I think I stopped. I'm getting ready to talk about the twist. So I did figure out the twist in the book, but I thought it was going to be for a different reason. That's all I say there. I did enjoy the ending. I actually found it funny that I thought that there was going to be this kumbaya moment, and it was more of a girl bye, like girl bye, not today. It's no. So, but I enjoyed the book. Again, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. I think people who haven't read a lot of thrillers may like this book because to them, this may seem like a, shocking twist in the book. But I feel like if you are the type of person that, don't mind guessing a twist in the book, I think you can enjoy that. And I'm one of those people. If I go ahead and guess what the twist is, I'm not disappointed. I mean, I still can enjoy it. Um, I think also people that enjoy a slow burn. To me, this book wasn't a very fast paced book, and I don't think that books have to be good. I think it was a slow burn, and it actually was a really quick read. I finished this book in one day. So, anyway, that's what we have for Miss Geneva Rose. Book number 6. So we have The Shack by William Paul Young. This is a Christian inspirational type of book. It takes place in Oregon. I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so there is a movie adaptation of this book. And when I was doing the TBR video, I said that I believe I had saw the movie and I did. Um, this is one of those books that I can say if you've read the movie, you don't need to read the book. If you read the book, you don't need to see the movie. Not that either of them was bad, but to me, they were exactly the same. If there was any difference between the book and the movie, it must have been like a really small, even though I hadn't seen the movie in a long time, but it just to me they seem like just one in the same. So I know most of the time readers we like to say that the book is better. I don't think that the book is better. I don't think the movie is better. I think they're exactly the same. And this is a very, very quick read. I forget how many pages, but it's like 200. I want to say 298 pages. I don't know, 200 something pages. Very quick read. Now, quick synopsis. So we have Mac, the father, who takes his kids on a trip, and unfortunately, his daughter Missy is abducted. Years later, Mac receives a note from God who tells him to go back to the shack. Now, there's different point of views in here, but mostly we're hearing from Mac, but the dialogue that is in there is really good between the different characters and whatnot. And in this book, this is a Christian based book, so you do have the Trinity. You have God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. Okay, now who do I think would enjoy this book? I think people that enjoy talking about not religion, but specifically about the Christian God, Jesus, or the Holy Spirit. I think that they would enjoy this book. The obvious would be certain Christians, and I don't think all Christians or not all people that call themselves Christians would enjoy this book. Um, The representation of the Trinity in this book may not be something that some people can wrap their minds around, even though this is a fictional story. The way that they're represented, I don't think some people will be able to maybe handle that very well. People who enjoy inspirational books would enjoy this because even though there is a tragedy that takes place, this book would be for people who enjoy reading about grief, but healing and love as well, because all of that is included in this book here. And people who like books that challenge, their beliefs or cause them to look at things from a different perspective. I think all of those type of people would enjoy this book. Okay, guys, hopefully you are still hanging in there with me. I know this is kind of a long video, but if you are still hanging around with me, please make certain to hit that subscribe button and let's get ready for the next book. Okay, I'm going to take my time with this one. This is book number 7. This is Open Season by C.J. Box. This is a crime mystery Western thriller type of book based out of Wyoming. This is the second book based out of Wyoming. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really good book. Now, let's say this. Okay, so I read this book because it was a close match to one of the prompts that I used for my reading journal. So this is the book that I was saying was not on my November TBR that I added, and that's the reason that I added this book. Now, it didn't read to me like what I would consider a traditional Western book would read, and honestly, I don't really feel like it read as a thriller book either. I think the Western part of the book really, I think it's just because of the location, the setting of Wyoming. It didn't feel like Western to me. Now, with that being said, I haven't read, you know, many Western books anyway. Actually, have I read any? None that I can think of at the moment. So maybe it is, but I think it was just because of the setting. Now, this is book number one in the Joe Pickett series. And from my understanding, there is a TV show um, about Joe Pickett. Now, I don't know if it's an old show, if it's a current show, but I do know that there was some sort of TV series based off this book. Now, I also have to say, I think I would have enjoyed this book better if I didn't go in thinking the book was going to be like the TV series Yellowstone. I don't know why I thought that. I probably thought that because the location and talking about it being Western. I don't know, but um, I believe that I probably didn't help the situation, and especially when I realized, like, okay, this is nothing like Yellowstone. I think I kind of set myself up for that one. So, quick synopsis on the book: we have Joe Pickett, who is the new game warden in 12 Sleep, Wyoming. He is one of those by the book people. He's not taking bribes, he's not looking the other way, and he holds people accountable. He really is a good guy. But, based upon that, he's not the most favorable person in 12 Sleep. Okay. We have a local hunter that Joe had a run in with that is found dead in Joe's backyard. Then there were two more bodies that were found in, for all practical purposes, everything was considered solved. But Joe kept investigating because he felt like, hey, wait a minute, something's not quite adding up. Something's not right here. And let's just say that some people took issue with that because it's like, hey, look, this is closed. Let's be done. But again, Joe is one of those good guys. And it's like, no, I don't think we are. So, um, many, 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 many points of views, okay, in this book. Many different characters. Now, I loved, I shouldn't say love, but I really enjoyed Joe, his wife, and their kids. His daughter, now I will say Sheraton was one of my favorite characters. I did love that little girl there. She's such a smart little girl. I also enjoyed David. He's the analyst in the story. He just had like a very brief part, but his personality, his humor, I really enjoyed that. Now, there were too many characters for me to list that I didn't like. They were mm, they were just rotten. They were rotten characters. You know, I ain't gonna say too much on them. You got to read the book to find out what I'm talking about. But so I wouldn't say that this book had like a huge twist. I would say it was more like instead of a twist, it's like, oh, the mystery has been revealed. So did I pick the right person? No. But was I shocked by who did what? No, I wasn't. Now, at first, I wasn't planning to read any more books in this series. There is a total of, I believe, 26 books in the series. Now, they all can be read as a standalone. However, reading them in order would probably be ideal so that you can see like how the characters how they develop by reading them in order. But for me, it took me, I got to chapter 34 before I was committed to reading like the next book. Because I was like, nah, I think this is going to be a one and done. Um, but by chapter 34, I think because I thought, okay, some of these things aren't going to be answered. It's not going to be answered. It's going to be left unanswered, and I need to know what happens. Hey, I'm a little nosy person. I need to know, what happens. We got to follow up with this. But then I really just started to enjoy Joe and his family more and more. So by that time, I was like, okay, I just want to stick around and see how they develop over time. Now, the ending, I thought it was good, and I felt like everything came together. There was no cliffhangers like I thought that it was going to be, so nothing was left unanswered. And from my understanding with these books, each of them have their own mystery, but it's solved by the end of the book. So if you don't want to go on to the next one, you're not like missing out on anything other than, the development of the characters. Now, who do I think will enjoy this book? I think people who like character building, nature, animals, I think that you would appreciate this book. People who like books that are kind of a slow pace. Now, if this isn't your typical type of book that you read, I would suggest not rushing through the book. Not rushing through the book. Take your time. Read the book when you're not distracted, when you're not doing 50 other things, where you can just really focus if this is not your typical read. And the reason I say that is because I don't think this is a book that I would consider a palate cleanser. Those type of books I consider palate cleansers are books that are usually kind of, happy-go-lucky, fluffy books. This was not a fluffy book. It had some serious stuff that was going on in this book. So to me, it's not a palate cleanser, but it's also one of those books that it just glides. I don't really know how else to say it, but I think it's one of those good read, just at a slower pace. And again, if you haven't read it before, don't be distracted when you're reading it, because I think this will be one that you might kind of throw to the side, but it's like you probably be missing out if you do that. And for me to give a book a fair chance, sometimes I do have to stop and say, wait a minute, let me be more intentional about what it is that I'm reading. But anyway, like I said, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. Honestly, I think if I would reread this book again, it may be a little higher. But there is nothing wrong with a 3 star. 3 stars to me, the book was good. Okay, book number 8. We have Pet Cemetery by Stephen King. This is a horror, paranormal, supernatural book. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. Now, I will say that there are two movie adaptations of this book. One was made in 1989 and the other in 2019. I did see the movie adaptation, the 1989 one. Obviously, I don't remember, much of anything about it. Well, I remember one very distinct part in the movie. But I've never seen the 2019 adaptation. Now, per King himself, he says that this is his scariest and most disturbing novel out of all that he's written. Now, I hope to go back and um, kind of catch up on reading, his works. Now, I don't know how many books he's written, but I think it's something like over 60 something books. Could be way more than that. I don't know. I'm probably not going to read 60 of his books. I definitely wanted to go through reading the books that I have seen the movie adaptations of, but so far I've read 3, and to me, I have to disagree with him. Misery to me is one of his scariest novels because it's so real. It's so real. It could be real. It made me feel uncomfortable. So that's one I'm going to go with, the scariest thus far. But anyway, quick synopsis of Pet Cemetery. So we have the Creed family that moves from Chicago to Maine. They move into this perfect little house and everything seems great. The main issue seems to be the speeding truck located next to their home. Many children have lost their beloved pets due to this. So, in the nearby woods behind their house is a cemetery for pets that the children in the area have been attending to for years. But beyond that is something else totally. Now, the point of view that we get here are from Dr. Creed, his wife Rachel, and the neighbor, the older gentleman Crandall. Now, the characters, they, were all okay. I didn't, love them or dislike them. I was pretty much kind of, indifferent to him. I guess if I had to pick one that I really like, probably is Crandall, the older gentleman, because he just kind of said, he said what he said. I kind of like those people. Now, I do hate to say this, but okay, I know she's a child, but their daughter, she kind of got on my nerves a little bit. Just a few times. And I know she's a child and she's just being a child, but she kind of got on my nerves, just a few times. Anyway, the twist in the book. So again, I saw the 1989 movie, so I knew part of what was going to happen. But because I had only seen the movie once and it was so many years ago, I didn't realize that other things happened. I just remember one part, so I was even shocked to like, oh, that that happened. Um, but again, I don't ever want to say too much about the twist because I don't want to give that away. I thought the ending was okay. I was trying to think in my head if it ended differently, like how else could it have ended differently? I don't know. The ending was okay. Now, the people who would enjoy this will probably be people who can appreciate some emotional horror because this deals with grief and just emotional issues. Um, People that like supernatural stuff, people who are able to deal with dark themes, may enjoy this. Now, I've said this before in another video, and I'll say it again. If you have triggers, if you're the type of person that is triggered by things, please always check what those are prior to reading any books that I talk about or that I recommend because I want to say mostly every single book that I read this month will probably have triggers in it. And most books probably have triggers, period. So it's just really important to check on those before you read a book. Okay, guys, last on the list, book number 9. We have Our Crooked Heart by Melissa Albert. This is a paranormal YA fantasy horror novel that includes things about witches and magic. I gave this book, well, initially I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, but then I changed it to a 3 out of 5 stars when I was starting to make my notes. Um, I did that because compared to some of these other books that I gave a 4 stars, a 4 star rating to, I don't know that this one is a 4 star. And that is something in the future that I can see myself not doing anymore. Not giving star ratings because sometimes I feel like the star ratings is a bit inconsistent with books. And I don't want to like some books are good. They're really good. But I think if I said, oh, well, that book is a 3 versus that book is a 4 or 5, someone may think, oh, well, it ain't really that good because you gave it a 3. And that's not it. It's the little system that I've came up with. And it's like, depending on where it falls at, this is the number I give. So I think not now, but I can see myself in the future just eventually saying whether I like the book, didn't like the book, and don't even sweat what the rating is. But anyway, quick synopsis of this book. So we have 17-year-old Ivy and her boyfriend that nearly runs over a young lady that is naked in the middle of the road. From there, things start to get strange. Like a dead rabbit ends up in the driveway. Ivy spots her mom burying something in the backyard, and then Ivy starts to have memories of things that she isn't certain is a memory or not that involves her mother. Now, we have different point of views, but mostly Ivy and her mother, and there are 2 different timelines. So the present timeline, we're really hearing more so from Ivy, and then we have the past timeline where we're hearing about the mother as a teenager, young adult, and what's going on with her. The characters, yeah, I mean they were okay. I didn't really relate to them. Kind of indifferent to them. Ivy, she got on my nerves. we had a lot of these people getting on my nerves. But she kind of got on my nerves, and I think she did because of her mouthpiece. I thought that at times she was a little, too disrespectful in the way that she spoke to her mother, and I didn't really care for that. Now, her mother did some questionable things, so I do understand the tension between the two. But again, I just didn't like what I felt was, just sheer disrespect from Ivy to her mother. Um, I enjoyed the dual timeline, and I do think that it was necessary. There was just no way that we as the reader could understand what was happening, in the current time without the author going back and explaining what happened back then. And it was kind of like a flip flop. This chapter talked the present, this one went back, and it just I felt was really necessary. Now the brother, I like the dad. The dad was he was okay. It was again nothing extra special about him, but the dad was okay. The brother, I really felt his part wasn't really necessarily needed in the book, but the next door neighbor, I do feel that he was needed, but only for a short period, and that's all the author gave. She didn't give like this extra. He didn't have like this extra long parts in the book, but it was needed. I don't feel like he was a filler, and I think it was important so that we can understand the gravity of what that person done and what that cost this person. And I have to say it like that because I don't want to say it in another way that gives away anything. Now, the twist, I didn't see that coming and I enjoyed it. I really did. The ending, it was it was okay. The ending was okay. Nothing extra about it. Who do I think would enjoy this? I think people that like witchy things, like magic and the occult, they would really enjoy this. People who enjoy YA books, paranormal books, dual timelines, and people who enjoy mother-daughter relationships and dealing with those type of things would probably appreciate this book as well. Again, I gave this book initially a 4 out of 5 stars. Now I say 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know what stars I really give it. I'm still kind of going back and forth on that one. Friends, we made it through. Okay. Oh my gosh. I felt like that took forever. But hopefully you feel like it was worth it. So those are the 9 books that I read for November. I hope that you um, found one that you might be interested in. Or if you have one that you've already read, let me know what book that is and your thoughts on it. So, as usual, I thank you guys so, so much for hanging out with me here. I would love it if you would please like and subscribe. And as always, I love you guys. Until the next time, y'all take care.